and someone more understanding here, and probably the Americans would start treating us as equals, probably be readmitted into AGOA so that we can trade, because the person who suffers when you slap these bans onto us is the local Ugandan person. So we believe that we are now going to see a partnership that is beneficial for the Americans but also the Ugandan people.
Honorable Katesh, you just had the very interesting words coming in from Honorable Bahinduka Mugara, the Minister of State for Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. Of course, in this week, we had your Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Anita Among, say, especially on that day after Trump had been announced to win, he says, now that Trump has won, I think my sanctions are not going to be lifted. We have a lot of hope in this new administration, but let's look at it from the politics as it is. Katesh, from where you see it as a member of parliament, but also someone that has had your hands in the way this country collects its revenue from the customs point and all that, do you ride on the hope and belief, like Martin does have, of increased trade and increased mutually beneficial partnership between Uganda and the US now with the new dispensation?
Yeah, first of all, I was extremely happy that President Trump won the election, and in the last 2 weeks I tried to listen in to most of his big MAGA rallies, and I must say that it was always a joy to watch him talk, and then his ability to galvanize all that support. No wonder that he won with a landslide, both under the electoral college and the total votes.
The popular votes.
I think that the world is going to be better off with Trump. And because his ideas of family, protecting family, curtailing all these extreme transgender, agenda, and the aftermath, countries like us who believe in our own values, the suffering we have got in terms of travel advisories, like my colleague has talked about, AGOA, and different unnecessary sanctions, we are going to see some we are going to have a break, and that will encourage people, of course, to come in and even invest. But also, from a business perspective, the geopolitics. Trump is someone who constantly, during his campaigns, said that, I am here to prevent the Third World War. And where we are heading with the Democrats, whom I believe that of recent they have taken extreme, they have become more radicalized in terms of this. Just look at the wars during Trump's time and now, and what has emerged. Sudan is almost unforgotten. The Middle East
is in plumes of smoke.
Ukraine and Russia. Trump is the only president who went to North Korea and met Kim Jong-un. And there was a period of, he would speak, people feel he's threatened, but he was a deal maker. He could sit and talk. So we believe that his ability to engage the rest of the world will be good for business. But also I like his trade policies, economic policies. As a leader, you have to look at your people first. His idea of America first. When you look at the issues he was talking about, reducing taxes, for example, for the business, so that they can invest and create more jobs, that touches the citizens. The issues of tariffs, saying we are going to slap tariffs. If you want to tax our goods, we shall tax yours, so that, or if you want to transfer manufacturing out of America, kill our jobs, we are going to put tariffs for your goods. I think that is how a government protects its citizens economically, and we are going to see inflation go down, and of course business will increase. I'm very, very what has been telling in this election is that, fake news is not only here. Because all of us who have been watching CNN, you could see that it
was skewed towards Harris.
Skewed towards Harris, highly biased. They tried to demonize this man. And the Democrats fell into their own trap of trying to take this campaign. Trump is a threat to the democracy. That's not what citizens want to.
They don't.
They are not going to eat democracy. It's going to bring people in their pockets. So, in fact, we should draw parallels. When you start branding someone as a threat to democracy, and all these charges they put on him, now they are jostling to remove them. It's also something that we should learn, that politics is almost very funny. Because if it happened here and you are the ones trying to remove the charges, then they would say, look, you people, you should allow the legal systems to work. But because I think everybody and most of the Americans believed that the man was being victimized, they voted for him.
Trumped up charges.
But most importantly, the survival of that assassination, I think, was telling that perhaps God needed this man to be around. And I hope and believe that the next 4 years, this pretense around Europe and everywhere, I like the fact he says if you want war, pay for it. You cannot. Definitely, Ukraine is never going to defeat Russia. That's the person who has a 4-dimensional advantage over you in space. There has to be talk, but people are so belligerent. They don't want
because they know someone else is paying for it.
And because they know someone is paying, so he's going to come and say, look, if you want war on your doorstep, pay for it. Otherwise, let's discuss. Why do you want to deploy your arsenal close to someone's border, and do you think that is going to keep quiet? So I think let us see how it runs out. But also what it came out, Simon, is that all these big stars we have always, this was not only a win of Trump against Harris. It was a win against all these big stars whom you dance their music. The whole Hollywood was up against this man, and Elon Musk stood out. I like the fact that the Americans looked at this man and they believe in him, and he got a landslide.
Wow, so now we can see clearly it's no longer Hollywood, it's Hollywood. Clearly there is nothing in there. In the studio, we've just been joined by 2 members that are joining the gang. One of them, a regular gangster. I've not seen her in quite a while. Navi, welcome to the program. How are you? How have you been? But before you come in, let me also welcome the Member of Parliament for Bukoto Central, Honorable Richard Sebamara. Engineer, welcome to the program. And certainly we'll be having a conversation when we get into the next topic, which is about smelling the coffee. But for now, let Nafi weigh in by one, saying hello to our listeners and giving us her 2 pence on the American election. Then we come down to you.
Thank you.
Good morning to our listeners. It's been quite a while, but I'm glad to be back. My 2 cents on the American elections. You see, the first time Trump came, and Oscar has accused me of supporting Trump, but I try to explain that it's not supporting Trump. It's watching a train wreck and just being fascinated by the whole America taking a certain path and going down a certain road. But you see, the first time, it was an anomaly. You could even say it was a fluke or a chance or something out of the whole Trump phenomenon isn't business as usual. It is a phenomenon.
Disruption, as we call it in marketing.
Exactly, yes. And I pundits have tried, theorists have tried to try and explain the whole Trump thing. But it's you can't just explain it in one sentence. Why are people fascinated by him? Why are people drawn to him? And at first, he didn't even win the popular vote. It's electoral college. This is not America. He's the fascist. And whatever he said, there is millions of people out there who actually agree with him. And the Democrats, for the last 8 years, have tried to deny this and label them. And Simon, if you label people, you're not going to get the truth. You're not going to get the answers that you need. For example, if Simon slaps me and I say Simon is stupid or Simon is violent or Simon is, then I'm not going to get to the root of why he slapped me or my role in that slap. But when you sit down and ask yourself, why are people drawn to Trump? And the Democrats for the last, I don't know how many years, 20 years, have been getting it wrong and even got it wrong, the reasons why people overwhelmingly supported Obama. Because people wanted a change. People wanted something different. People wanted to disrupt business as usual. And they thought getting this lanky black man is disrupting business as usual. And yet, business continued.
Usually, if anything,
exactly.
Usually worse.
So when Trump comes with this message of drain the swamp, and in his first time, he learned that it's not as easy as that to drain the swamp. But you see, Trump disrupts. And people want disruption. At this point, Americans are being told one thing, they are feeling another. You're okay. America is the greatest country in the world. You're living the American dream. But you've been to America yourself. You've been to California. You've been to the streets of New York. There's no American dream there.
At least not the one they are talking about.
Not the one they are talking about. And yet day in there, they're telling them, be grateful, you're not in Africa, you're in America. And Trump is here saying, that's not the America you sold us. And people are buying what he's saying. And the Democrats are not saying, and for the first time, I like that the Democrats are looking inward to start apportioning the blame. This time around, they are not going outside. You saw the team that were battling in Pennsylvania, the Democratic team. They came out and said the Harris team was this and this and this and this. And you can see the Biden team and the Harris team, like they got so many things wrong, but because Democrats have this entitlement of we are better than everybody, they have a superiority complex. So they think, if you're not voting a black woman, who are you voting for? You're stupid.
It's the party of inclusion.
And it's a part of inclusion. And you black party. People, you had Obama telling black people, you have to vote for us because you're black. I'm not offering you anything. I'm not giving you anything, but you're black. Come, get on board. And if you don't, you're stupid.
Already.
Nobody's buying that. And people are defiant now. We have social media to disseminate all the information. You can no longer lie to people. So at the end of the day, Trump won because Trump is Trump. Trump, even when he's inauthentic, he's an authentic thug.
He doesn't pretend about anything.
No, he doesn't. Even when he's pretending, he's getting it all wrong, that we are at the point where Trump could do whatever he wants and he will still have his best going for him because there is a reason, and the Democrats again and again refuse to get to the bottom of that reason. They're still sounding the same old drums, but this time around, with both the popular vote, the Senate, the Congress, and everything, Trump has shown that I am not an anomaly. I am not a fluke. I am here because American people have a message. Black people voted for Trump. Latinos voted for Trump. Albeit males. I don't know what is wrong with you males. But it sends a message to the Democrats and all those LGBTQ and all those with a superiority complex that the Democratic Party is one of the evolved people, the clever ones, the educated ones. You, middle America, who are idiots, what are you doing with Trump? We don't even understand. Biden in the last week called them what? Garbage? Something like that. Like, who does that?
Call them
but
garbage, and
the
the man showed up in a
disdain
garbage
that
can.
Democrats have for everybody is what some of these voters were pushing back against. Because it was simply the economy. They could tell you, we are worse off than we were 4 years ago. And with people, that is basic. Don't tell them COVID, don't give them excuses. It is as simple as that. You have excuses, I have my vote. I will go and give it to somebody who doesn't have excuses. So we have Trump too. We wait for the ride.
Let's see how it goes. And like he said, this may not be radio appropriate language, but well, if Trump could say it on Twitter,
I'm
may
back,
as well say,
bitches.
I'm back, bitches. Well, Honorable.
I mean, this is the time we are in
Exactly.
where he says that, and we roll.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and the bells and whistles go off. Richard
Yes.
Sebamala, Member of Parliament for Bukoto Central, welcome to the program. We are coming into a close of an interesting week. We have an American election that ushered in the 47th president, but we also had quite a bit of action in your Augusta. So I'll allow you for a minute or two say your 1 or 2 cents about the American election, take a break, and when we return, we get down smelling the coffee, literally.
It was a tight fight. It was a tight fight. I was in the US for around 1.5 months.
Wow.
So I tried to witness hands-on. And like all has been said, Trump was Trump. He said he called AA. He didn't want homosexuals. He said, I don't want them.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want, when he talks about the economy, he was hands-on. He knew what he was talking about. He rallied most of the people that have made money around him, and they are the ones that have the solutions to making money. He talked about immigration, and everyone can see it. Everyone is running to America, with or without papers. So the Americans had this thing of very many people are coming in here from Africa, from Mexico, from wherever. They are very rich. When they come here, they enjoy social services free, education. When they come in, they say we have come for asylum. They have everything free, yet they are driving very expensive cars, cash. So they go back home, make a lot of money but they're on asylum, on a asylum portfolio. And he talked about the Israeli war and the Palestinian war. Straight on, he said, we no longer need to fight. We just have to, I will talk to, what did he say? Putin. I'll call Putin as soon as I'm in. And people understood him for what he is.
24 hours.
24 hours. And on the other side of the Democrats, of course, there have been Democrats, the usual Democrats that will show you that they are selling gold.
When in fact it's wood pellets.
Sometimes it's not gold. So that is what it was there. He was so factual. He was just plain and straight, and him. That was what he was, and that's what made him win. So I would say congratulations to him, but I also want to remind Ugandans that America is America. Whether it's Trump or Biden or whoever, where they need their influence in order to get what they want, they will use it. If they need to use the UN base, they will use it. If they want to use Uganda to stabilize the region, the East and Central Africa, they will use it. Whether it's Trump or Biden or whoever. If they need the raw materials, they will push you into a corner until you can avail the raw materials. America remains America.
Thank you very much, Honorable Richard Sebamala, for that 2-cent perspective on the American election. It's the Capital Gang. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll then have a conversation. But then I've been reminded that we may as well not even take a break, just continue, because the conversation is actually getting quite into that space where it should be. But let's change a bit of a gear. I know Ahmed Haji really wants to quickly chip in on the American perspective. I'll give you a minute, and then from there, we can get down to matters closer to our hearts, or maybe those closer to our cups of coffee.
Well, I just want to clearly highlight that there's a lot of excitement that Trump is coming in. But if you're looking at it from an international relations policy perspective, the ramifications of his presidency will, in one or the other, affect the continent, but also affect Uganda. I want to bring some data to the table that we have over 20,000 Ugandans in the U.S., and these contribute a lot in terms of the remittances. They support our economy. And many of, it's very interesting that the official numbers are 20,000, but on average, close to about 27,000 Ugandans are in the U.S., of which 40% are undocumented. So when you're on this
40%
table...
40% of the 27,000 you're talking
about? Yes, undocumented. So when I think we need to, part of our responsibility is to educate the Ugandans by understanding the policy implications. I'm sorry, gentlemen, and the lady, I'll cut some bit of your short-term party, because last year alone, it's very interesting. There were over 13,000 Africans that were intercepted on the U.S.-Mexico border.
What?
just pause a bit. Africa is this other side, Mexico is the other side. So when you hear Trump say that we'll finish the wall, that I had started. When you hear Trump say that, I think for me his strict immigration policies should really be more of a second thought for the continent. Yeah, you might say, you know, we don't need the US, we don't need... I don't want us to look at them from sort of the values perspective, but I want us to look at, be very genuine on the remittances and how much these Ugandans add to our economy, because our economy is not doing well. So we're trying our level best to rationalize here. We're trying our level best to market the image of the country so that we can get as many tourists in and as many people in so that we can jumpstart our economy, leveraging on our good security so that we can have people that bring in money into the economy. So we need to rethink that as well. I think what I want to also highlight is not everything that is said on a campaign trail. Having studied political history, I teach political American history, that not everything that happens on the campaign trail translates into policy practice. Just another bit of cutting your short party.
You're telling us we have been on campaigns every 5 years.
Yeah, but you see, you know, this idea of like he's going to do this, he's going to do this, and I think for me that's
what happens.
But you see, when Trump says
at Central certainly know what Honorable Samara promised them at the last time he was on a campaign.
Yeah, because I see a couple of politicians. Yeah, but you see, let's talk about the universal tariff. You know, we have a tariff consultant here because I think. I used to follow very closely when I was not here, when you're doing a lot of domestic tax mobilization. Universal tariff on any foreign good. Even when we're not selling via AGOA, we still take our products there. So protectionism might, in one or the other, have a bit of an effect to our economy. So some of these policies might sound popular, but they have huge ramifications. I think for me, we need to acknowledge that the US has invested I think they invest in our economy over $1 billion US. When it comes to our health sector, that is almost 80% of our health sector is US supported. I mean, anyone who takes the ARVs, just last year they supported most of our referral hospitals, over 10 of them. So we need to be thinking about continuity. Even when you're saying that he shouldn't be involved in our affairs, we need to have that bit of a domestic, cooperation with a country that we've related with. I'm just trying to bring it down to the Ugandan perspective. But I think, yes, you spoke about the travel advisory and the effect they have over our tourism. But I will tell you that it's within their interests to make sure that the Americans are safe wherever they are. But then how it's done and its effect on our economy, these are issues we need to grapple with. It's about America's interests.
Did you talk about being safe and America in the same sentence? If someone is listening to you on X, for example.
Bomb threats during the election.
No, but you see that the idea here is I entirely agree with the Honorable Minister of Tourism. Truth is, travel advisory have a huge impact on the image of the economy. Not just travel advisory, but sanctions as well. I mean, when I heard the speaker say that now that Trump has come, that sanctions are going to go, the sanctions are within the law. They are within the national interest.
It's a systems-based kind of governance.
Absolutely, because if you look at Article, I think 7031, subsection C of the Department of State, Foreign Relations and Appropriation Act, it's within the law. I think sanctions are negotiated with proof of change of action. So if it's integrity, prove your integrity. I think where we're going as a continent is Trump comes back in a different Africa.
I hope it's the same Trump we knew.
Because China has already taken a foothold. There was a vacuum. Russia is in. India is doing business. Turkey is doing business. And these African governments are looking at alternatives. And just to be very sure that if you are looking for security, Uganda provides security leadership in close to about 12 countries.
In the Great Lakes region.
Beyond the Great Lakes. So we actually are de facto. We secured Kenya. We secured Kenya. You know, like the strikes in Kenya, if it wasn't Uganda's intervention, put aside the fact that we produce almost like 5 point something trillion, whatever, liters. 70% of the liters of milk are in Kenya. Our trade relation engagement, Kenya cannot survive without Uganda security. But then who are our allies in terms of security assistance provision? They're the US. They've come here, they're negotiating with the president to go and secure Sudan. So will Trump continue that? Because Africa is not as secure, especially this is a part of Africa, if you don't work with President Museveni, and if the Americans know that they need that relational engagement to continue. So will Trump disengage on some of those issues? So like I said, the populistic narratives, the populistic pronouncements in the campaign, many times from an international relations, don't feature when it gets into governance. Exactly. Africa is a different game now.
Maybe before Honorable Mungara comes in, a friend of mine just told me to say, look, in all that it is all said and done, let's try and position ourselves in business so that we can benefit from the incoming presidency. Positioning ourselves, what do we bring to the table, as is said
in business as opposed to health sector is being funded. Like we have to stop begging.
Exactly.
And for the last 30, 40, 50 years, we've been doing this. America hasn't had Trump. They've been helping us. Where are we? At some point, we have to to start telling a different story. We have to stop being those beggars. And I know most of my friends who are aggrieved by Trump's presidency, it's about the aid coming to the third world. And because of his policy of America First, he's going to pull back like he did in the first term on US aid. And yes, in the short term we'll suffer. But in the long term, at the end of the day, we need to start singing a different song. How about we become business partners? Not shoddy business partners like the AGOA nonsense, which Clinton had, which really got us nowhere. We have to start being serious about these partnerships. We have to stop begging and giving the real partnerships a real chance. When you talk about illegal immigration bringing in money, it's like saying there is a father who has been a robber. But and he's been feeding his family.
No, but if
at the end of the day, he has to stop robbing.
No, but if Ugandans don't see their futures here, they will travel abroad.
Travel abroad legally. Try and do it legally. We can't
but
sit here and justify illegalities. If they are not there, then let's get them. Or maybe when someone strict on illegal immigration comes in, we will be forced to find options. Because at the end of the day, we can't continue an illegality because it's bringing in money to the third world. Wake up.
I agree. Maybe.
You see, I'm sure China is not having conversations like this of aid from America and the illegal immigration of the Chinese into America is bringing in money in China.
It is there.
You understand?
It is there.
It is there, but this is not the conversation they are having.
It is not as big as ours, man.
Even if it's not what they are looking at.
In fact, they stopped
but it's not what they are looking at.
They recently stopped the adoption of children.
Of Chinese children by the US. But what I'm saying, it may be there, but it's not what they are looking to. This is not the official way they deal with America. You can't sit there and say, oh, Trump is going to stop illegal immigrants. War BS. No. How about get legal immigrants?
But you know for sure how much the remittances that come from the Ugandans are.
Yes, we do, but it still doesn't make the wronger right.
But maybe Simon,
but it doesn't make a wronger right. They are illegally there. Let them be legally there. Let them be legally there.
Let's open the microphone for Honorable
Simon, maybe just really what Haj is saying. And that is what we're saying, because where does the actual solution lie? In proper partnership. Yes. You work with us well so that we can grow our economy. The 20,000 people in the US are non-representative of the Ugandans. We have over 40 million people. Yeah. So we want something that resolves the economic issues we have, and we can only do that with proper partnership. If you have the Americans today saying, if you want to be our friends, you only deal with us. If you have a discussion with the Russians, we are going to blacklist you. Which kind of friendship is that? So if you look at, for instance, our biggest product probably in the next 2-3 years is going to be oil. The Democrats and most of these campaigns are really against the exploitation of most of these products to keep us poor. You're talking to the aid. I want to assure you, we get some of these donations. You'll get $1 million, 70% will go to consumption. Exactly. The real money does not, because you see, as government, we make these policies. We say, if you want to grow us,
administration of these NGOs,
yes, support the growth. For instance, the construction of the railway. They will never do it. They will come here, give you $1 million, tell you, give 60% to consultancies, and they are own.
And with 1,000 conditions,
the rest is for
those conditions are keeping you in poverty.
Yes. So this is not the solution. Let me tell you, when you issue travel advisory saying Uganda is unsafe, yet in America, I know, of course, that's not the reason, but if you encourage encouraged a million Americans to come here, I would make maybe over $3 billion. Now that's the partnership we are talking about, not hoodwinking us, not people going to the US to clean cars and old women. That cannot be a discussion here. It cannot
Simon,
be.
Just to add on, Simon, you see, the Americans have to come to terms with the fact that Africa is no longer the Africa that they think it should be. We need infrastructure. The president has talked about what are the enablers of trade. So if we are trying to build a railway, come in and say this is where we can partner, we can fund. Don't complain because the Chinese or any other partner has come to fund in the railway, right? Number two,
you try to frustrate everything.
If we are talking of trade, I've been involved in global trade issues. Let me tell you, there is a lot of these handouts you give a goer, and then it appears as if it is the biggest thing you have done for the continent. No. So what we need is a conversation on the table that respects Africa. If we are saying we have minerals, we want to add value, come and we partner. We are exploring our oil. Don't come with this thing of climate change. I'm glad Trump says I'm going to start drilling.
So you don't believe in climate change?
No, we believe, but
No,
you
we
see,
do,
why
but
should
not
you
at the cost of
why
our
should you
development.
condemn Africa, not industrialize?
No,
because for you,
When
When
for
you're using
centuries,
this,
No,
you-
but
for
I
centuries.
just want to. I entirely agree with you, Honorable.
So I want to end my point. For me, for us to sit here and say, look, we have about 4,000 Ugandans, illegal immigrants, we shall lose money. The example he has given, just by travel advisories, discouraging people to come here.
Yes.
One of the most peaceful countries we have on the continent, Uganda, just by having Americans here, that is much more bigger in terms of the inflows than just a few hundreds of people. But also, we need to have a conversation as Ugandans. If you are going as an illegal immigrant, one time I met someone. I was in South Korea. I was walking to KFC, and there were two ladies whom I was following behind, and they were speaking the local language. I will not talk about the language.
You're kidding.
But one of them was saying, the way I came here, I faked that I was being victimized because I'm gay. So I got sympathy. That's how I have come. So if you are going to go, you go and then you are tarnishing the country, blackmailing the country, that you are a victim
Of a non-existent
phenomenon. Threat. And then we come here and say, Trump is going to load all these people. We need trade. We need investments in infrastructure. We need a partnership that respects us. And if we have other friends...
we need them to stop supporting dictatorship,
Yes.
the one we have here.
My question would
now
be...
you had to really drop that.
No,
in.
if they did,
You are
yes.
spoiling.
Let's say, at what advantage are you to bargain for this?
Of course, if you have a mineral here and you
that's
need to
the
exploit,
leverage we need to
you have to
build.
use your mineral.
Yes.
We are not as bad.
You have
as
seen-
Yes.
as
Seven
they are
months.
They are
saying,
complete beggars. Like we
they
have
need to
minerals.
realize
We have
that it's
gold.
not the Africa that used to be,
Yes.
where we do not have a say on what we have in terms of natural endowments and the like. But it's exactly 2 minutes past the top of the hour. At 11 o'clock, we need
No,
to
I
take a short
understand what
breather.
you mean, eh?
When we return,
Because
we'll
we
now
really
get down to
have- like, we
the
can't
gist of a
just
conversation
keep
that goes
things
around the
when we don't
coffee.
even have
We're happy
leverage.
talking about
But
coffee
we
that
do.
Star
The
Cafe is...
advantages we have.
Hey, Nafi! I'm still speaking. Star Cafe is providing us the enabling wind beneath our wings, and that's why Nafi is always animated, because of the great sumptuous coffee that they serve in the studio. We do not know now post UCDA whether we'll be having this coffee brewed and tasty as it is, but let's take a short break. When we return, it's the Capital Gang. Welcome back. It's the Capital Gang here on 91.3 Capital FM. In the studio, in no particular order, Honorable Kateshi, Honorable Mugara, Ahmed Haji, Honorable Sebamala, and this Honorable Nambi. Considering exactly what has been happening as we were in for a break and the animation of the conversation, let's now get down to a topic closer to home. On Thursday, the President of the Republic did address the nation on what had been billed as a televised address or broadcast address to the nation on matters of great importance. But we know that the gist of the whole conversation was in what one newspaper described this morning, driving the last nail into the coffin of the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, which is one of the government agencies that is part of an omnibus bill to rationalize a number of government agencies for many reasons explained with regard to increasing and making better government efficiencies in terms of delivery of services, but also most importantly, saving on the much needed taxpayers' money in as far as paying remuneration to bloated governance structures from boards and management teams. But what really got the dust in the air and the smell of coffee brewing is that Uganda Coffee Development Authority, some sections of the country believe, was doing an incredible job in as far as promoting the growth, the processing, and the marketing and exploitation of Ugandan coffee, which is by no other accounts one of the leading foreign exchange earners into the country. This conversation led to a debate in Parliament that moved very quickly from a debate into a physical fight, and some of you in the studio witnessed that firsthand. Others listening to us must have witnessed it in real time from social media broadcasts and the like, even when legacy media was banned from showing exactly what happened in the aftermath. But whatever it was a week of action in that front. Let's start, and I like the calm demeanor of Honorable Mugara. I think I'll just start with you so that you can, I want to use the word paint a broad picture of what then happens after this UCDA debate in as far as restoration of calm in Parliament, restoration of belief that our Parliament does deliberate on matters in the best interest of the people, as opposed to rubber stamping what the president wants. But also, you could also tell us what you know in as far as the president's interest, in particular in this coffee thing, because his remarks, as he concluded the national address, spoke to the fact that he was not quite happy with the goings on in Parliament.
Thank you, Simon. And I want to start with the statement that the president made in his address. Basically, he was trying to he was baffled by the fact that there was a lot of dust around this debate. You see, when you said that now that UCDA is gone, there are going to be so many issues to do with coffee, because probably initially it was the champion. It is like saying that me, the Minister of Tourism, or the ministry can come here and say we've grown the tourism numbers, they are so huge, therefore if the ministry goes, but we are growing them as government. Really, at the end of the day, it's government. So I disagree with the statement that coffee has reached where it has reached because of UCDA. It has reached where it has reached because of the government.
But the government is such a huge amorphous establishment that may not necessarily give a pinpoint accuracy of who is responsible for the growth.
Yes, and UCDA was playing a delegated, actually it was implementing a delegated assignment on behalf of government.
Implementing it well.
I hope, Honorable
Yes.
Mugara, that one day when things go so wrong, you will also be able to take that responsibility and say, this has gone so wrong, not because of the police, but the whole government.
Yes.
This has gone so wrong, not because of a roads agency, but the whole of government.
Yes, and the reason I'm
Because
saying
you're quick
this...
to take claim of a positive and
Yes.
slow to take responsibility of a negative.
Because, you see, I remember around 2011-12, I used to distribute seedlings to my people from UCDA. What UCDA used to give me was a letter saying I have given, because they would be the people who would pay the nursery bed owners for having given me the coffee that I would later transport and distribute to my farmers in
At your own
Intoroko.
cost.
Yes, at my own cost. But the person who did the preparations and everything were the seedling owners. UCDA, having the resource, would just pay for the seedlings taken. So it's not true that it does all these things that have been talked about, but
They wouldn't come even to check the quality checks of the quality of the seedlings or the
no, Simon, that can be done by anyone, and that's why we are saying no. Listen, and I want to use because you see, when we're rationalizing, for instance, I want to use an example. We joined UWEC, which is called the Entebbe Zoo, to Uganda Wildlife Authority. We did. And now Uganda Wildlife... Yes, we merged them. UWEC now, formerly known as the zoo, is a conservation area under Uganda Wildlife Authority. But this is what happened. The staff of UWEC all stayed. The budget is going to stay.
All they did was change a badge.
Was just change a badge. And this is what is going to happen with UCDA. The employees of UCDA, those that intend to stay, will stay.
others.
Yes.
Those who intend to stay, why wouldn't they intend to stay?
Well, some may be unhappy because government may not pay as much as UCD was paying. But
so there is a catch. But salaries are going to go down.
Yeah, but in most of these bills, we have made sure, and public service has made sure that most of these people are retained. And I also want to believe that the same building housing UCDA will stay the same building. So we'll have the same resource. Nothing really changes apart from apart from the logo. The only thing, and of course this debate has been on for weeks. I don't want to go into it. I saw Gobi's article on how much we'll be saving. The president spoke to it. But I just want to tell Ugandans, because a picture is being painted that UCDA is different from government. UCDA is government. This NRM government was given mandate to run this country for 5 years. We formulated the policy. We brought UCDA in place. A decision has been taken at cabinet level. And by the way, a lot of research was done because it started in 2017. We've discussed rationalization in cabinet for almost, from the time I got into cabinet, it's now 3 years. Yet it was there previously, even before I got to cabinet. So a lot of research has been done. This is a decision we arrived at as government after proper consultation. Therefore, I don't want people to think that the NRM government doesn't know what it's doing. And the claimants are maybe a few people in NOP and DP.
Why are you saying that looking at Honorable Sebaman?
Yes, because he has been nodding his head here in disagreement.
In agreement.
In agreement.
In agreement.
So you know, this picture painted by some politicians in society, it's fair and unfair, by the way. You find a group of 15, 20 members of parliament thinking that the rest of the MPs who voted against are very stupid, that they don't reason, that for them they don't grow coffee. I grow coffee myself. And they know what they are talking about. Having a different opinion doesn't make me a sellout, doesn't make me someone who cares less about this country. All do. And let's give government a chance. I am sure we'll see the results and actually the argument we'll be having now is adding value going forward. But that on the side. The whole fight around that you spoke to towards the end of the question. First of all, the fight that happened in Parliament was not about coffee. It was not. I saw my young brother, the NOP Honorable, what's his name? Zake. Sorry. Honorable Zake on his Twitter. The man tweeted even before going to Parliament, putting on an overall. He wasn't even dressed in a parliamentary manner, saying, I am going to Parliament today to fight. When you go to fight, there are two results. Either you beat or you're beaten. and I think he got the other. But you see, it is very unfortunate. Parliament, and I had an opportunity to speak, I think towards the close of the debate. Parliament is a house of reason. And the national parliament should be exemplary. Because, for instance, Uganda has a parliament. Toro Kingdom has. So is most of these institutions. If we allowed anarchy, to become the new means of doing business in that house, I think it would be unfortunate. It is something new that has started with a small group of people, especially the Red Brigade, the NOP people. But I was happy that in that house still the opposition stayed. The DP was there, the FDC, people like Honorable Nandala Mafavi enriched that debate. And they conceded. They said, this is a game of majority. You've carried the day. You've given your grounds. So be it. But the Hansard has captured them. The record is clear that they made a contribution. So I don't know why someone was a minority, because you see, if we decide, and this is important that the people out there get to know, that if NOP walked out of Parliament for the rest of this term, we would transact business until the term ends, and there would be no challenge because we would have made the quorum. So you're a minority. This is a democracy. I don't know what gives you that leverage to continue running around and causing. So it is very unfortunate that because of the fight of a chair between Zake and the big man I called, Zake was lucky he didn't get the proper punches. It would have been a different story today. It is unfortunate that because of that happening, our members did not have, the opposition members, especially NOP, did not have chance to contribute. But I think that was their strategy, because they knew they would lose anyway. And like I told you, I made a statement on the floor that the Parliament of Uganda is as old as 104 years. It was started in 1920 as the Legico then. The reason it has stayed today is because it has been a house of reasoning. and debate and argument, and who has a better idea carries the day. The moment we turn it into a comedy theater, where someone comes,
or at best a kickboxing
yes, with
ring.
a premeditated mind that for me today, I am going to not speak to, without even looking at the order paper, the agenda of the day. He says, me, I'm going to go with my own agenda. Then if that's how Parliament transacted from the onset, we wouldn't have a Parliament today. And I want to thank the Speaker that she stood her ground. She made the ruling and said, under the rules of procedure, named the number of members, and told them to leave the chamber. It's even unfortunate that in our Parliament, a Speaker makes a ruling, even with all the power given to her under the rules of procedure, and members don't leave. That now they have to deploy people to come and carry them out. It was good that it happened after she had suspended the House. But whatever happened within her mandate and within the powers. And me, as a young politician, and maybe there's several others really, that come to that House every single day. Students come to the gallery, see the proceedings. This is a monumental structure, but even with the history it carries, it is very important that we protect that House against hooliganism, comedians, fighters. We can create a ring outside, maybe around the Parliament precincts.
Theatre next to you.
Or National Theatre. But let's keep that house as a house of record. And I call upon the leadership of Parliament and my colleagues that at whatever cost, we shouldn't allow members who have no capacity to debate and reason to come and turn that thing, the House, into something else.
Mugara, those members are not brought in by Parliament or government, they are brought in by we, the voters. So on your way to Ntoroko, please take some time off and pass by Mitiana, have some word with the populace there. You will come back and tell us the result.
And if the Mitiana people don't listen, we believe the leadership of Parliament will do that role for us. Keep those outside.
Honorable Richard Sebamala, some have bastardized this conversation around UCDA and put it to the point that the president did call a stupid submission, where he says those who are talking tribally, in as far as this is concerned, and those who are speaking from a tribal perspective are not only bastardizing the conversation, but they are outrightly wrong and divisive, and certainly mean not good for this country. What for you is your take in as far as that perspective is concerned?
I really want to go confrontational with the words of His Excellency. I also really want to demean their purpose. But I find them, like they say, the stage managed damage control session, televised. And the president told this to the Buganda caucus members, Buganda caucus NRM members, when he met them. He said, let's go ahead with the bill, we shall do damage control. I'll give you seedlings, I will give you money, I'll give you whatever, I'll give you fertilizers. You'll go back to the constituencies and convince these people. So why would you do damage control?
If you're not doing damage.
If you're not doing damage. Then I want us to go back, Simon, where we started with the coffee bill. These guys didn't want it.
Which guys?
The NRM. They named it the penalty thing. They had to go to Chankwan's. His Excellency had to call Peneti to explain. They didn't even. They still refused to agree with him. They came in Entebbe.
Go to Changwan to discuss the contribution. You should give.
But Honorable Sebamala, what is wrong with
anyway? You will have your
engagement?
chance. You will have your chance to speak. So they discussed part of it. They discussed the coffee thing out there because it was about maybe penalty the 18, because they first brought in the coffee thing sometime back. So they went to Chankwan's, came back. They went to Entebbe twice on the same issue, meaning that if they discuss it in Chankwan's and also discuss it in Entebbe twice, that means it must have been a contentious issue. That is one. Two, I want I want people to note that coffee is as global as you see fuel. It's not something that, it's not a cash crop that we like soybeans or Irish potatoes in your constituencies. Something that brings into revenue of 450 billion globally. It's not something you're going to joke with like yesterday and say, I feel embarrassed talking about it. Now we go down to the coffee value chain. Simon, the coffee value chain starts at the type of soil that you're going to plant this coffee. Because we are dealing with what we call aroma. We are dealing with scent. So we are going to go back, type of soil, type of seedling, type of fertilizers, herbicides and pesticides. You're going to move to planting, the way you handle yourself, because coffee is something that takes in scent. But by just coming inside the coffee parlor with a perfume on, it has already, sunk it in. So coffee has a very delicate way of being handled. Transportation, drying, picking, roasting, all these. Now what UCDA has been doing is to verify the people that are in these processes. They go down, look at your soil, advise. They go to they visit the different nursery beds, accredit those that have the right seedlings and have done the right thing. Come teach the farmers on how to handle it on farm and off farm. Then later deal with the market. And the hardest thing that the president said, I hear they have been, getting soliciting revenue. They said you'll be paying 2% of your CIF. If you're taking coffee worth $1 million shillings, leave 20,000 behind for us to operate. So I didn't see what the logical reasoning in this in the abolishment of UCDA is not there. When you ask these people, why are you taking it? Is it bad? Why? If your child is sick, do you kill them?
And the child is not sick.
No. Say the child is a bit sick.
Yes.
Do you just kill them? Because now the logical reasoning is it is your baby. We agree. So why take it away? Because what we're saying, you're saying we shall do it better in the ministry, but there is nothing in the ministry. The ministry says we don't have these people. This has come out in the minority reports. This came out in the majority reports of Parliament. Then there is no reason as why we are taking UCDA away. There was no reason. There was no specific reason. There's nothing they can give you as a reason of taking it away. Not better administration. Nothing.
Honorable Sebama.
When we are enacting laws, let me give you this. When we are enacting laws, we are either improving them, eradicating those that do not, or bringing new ones. This time we don't know what we are doing. We are taking away this one, but for what?
You have been in the US for.
So what happens is I think you can hear the bastardizing.
No,
He's always, let's not debate shallow. I always tell people I am with, let's grow up, come up from that. What I was saying is, what happens is, when we are into the coffee debate, you're saying we are taking out UCDA, well and good. It is taking around $10 million yearly. That is okay. I can count very many agencies that are getting more than that. Him personally asked for $2 million as a compensation. If we are talking about wastage of money in this country, we shall not go down to start saying that UCDA is the highest spender. Now, what I can tell you is government lost the logical reasoning as to why it is taking it. They told us it was extravagant. All the reports show there was no extravagance. They said duplication. The reports came up, there was no duplication. Now we started debating haphazardly. But these are the points that I'll take away. We need to take away. Nobody is going to stop the value chain. It will stay. Minister of Agriculture will take it on. Other nations like Ethiopia and Kenya have tried to take away their agencies and brought them back after 3-5 years. So if it doesn't work in the ministry, they will enact another law that will make it that will bring it back. If we are talking about the tribal issue, tribalizing the issue, I have seen the levels of poverty and the polyeconomic, battles that have been in the NRM for quite a while, Simon. You will go to Busoga, they have the issue of the sugar cane. You'll go to Bunyoro, you'll find they have the issue of tobacco and then the oil. You'll come here, you'll find we have issues with the lake, we have issues with land, we have issues now with coffee. You'll go to every region, you'll go to the northern Uganda, you'll find issues of minerals and everything, where the communities are not benefiting directly from the proceeds that are being gotten from these things. So the war to control, to have power over money, or over funds, or over the consolidated fund, or over everything that brings in money in the country has always been there. And politically, it works for you as a president. If you say, you know what, I need control over this coffee, the people that are getting this coffee and accumulating wealth, at one time I'll lose control. Where are they putting the money? How are they getting the money? Before you control where you control where and how they are spending the money, you have to control how they are getting it. So if we go polyeconomical, I would say as a head of state, for political reasons and for power reasons, for power and control, that might be okay. But then there's a key issue. It was a very minor issue in Parliament. Zake was seated in his seat, got up on a point of order where he felt somebody had a gun in their waist, or where he saw or thought, or I don't know, when he got up, gave a point of order on coming back to sit where he was supposed to be seated, he found Honorable Akol already seated. So he tells him, you know what, I've been seated here. Both of them have temper issues, and it ended up the way it ended. Now, the leader of opposition did not say at that point we are even not debating coffee. We are debating the UNRA bill. So you cannot say that people left Parliament because of the coffee bill. We were debating the UNRA bill. The leader of after that, you know what happened? They whisked away all media people. Yours too here. You were whisked away and bundled into one conference hall. Lights were taken off. Strangers entered Parliament. All media houses were off. Supposing you strangled somebody inside there, who would report?
Well,
so at the end of it all,
you are beating yourselves up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Don't try to claim any sanctity in that place.
No. What I'm telling you,
I have never seen a disgusting bunch like you, members of
exactly.
So
now,
whether there's media watching or not, in fact, rather the media doesn't watch. I hate puking and watching my puke. I would rather media doesn't watch the kind of disgusting things you guys doing.
Now, exactly, you go back to the point that actually your parliamentarian, Simon, the person you voted, is the one that was doing that. So as you're demonizing the members of parliament inside there, just know it's the quality you sent in.
True.
And they represent you, and that is the person you saw that will do what you want them. You will do for you what you want them do for you. So that they are fighting because you sent them to do that.
To fight.
They resemble you, Simon, exactly. If you sent a fighter, they are fighting. So you watch them fight. If you sent a prostitute, that is what is there. If you sent somebody that that is going to transact business, they will enter Parliament and they will transact business. You understand? So whether you want to watch or not, that is a true representation of what you people sent in Parliament. And for us, whether I have come in Parliament with two master's degrees, I have worked with government for 10 years, I've been private sector 20 years, I have experience, and what that will not work when I have a bunch of people that have been sent from out there. And I have to work with them. I have to learn to be with them and work with them. So don't even come here and say that, hey, I don't want to watch Parliament do that. Those are the people you sent there. And it is you, the public, that sent those people there.
Wow.
We just meet them there, actually.
Listen to this kind of
As for us, Simon, as for me, I'll meet Zake, I'll meet Akol.
You go there, make
No, I'll come to debates.
You go to Parliament, make a fool of yourself, and then come and gaslight me, the voter. This is what you said to me.
Exactly. Let me say, Simon. The truth is, if you sent a call, and who, and Bukoto Central sent Sebamala, and we reached it in Parliament,
and
Tiana sends Zake, and somebody sends there's this Subukapu, then another one sends who? Linos, then another one sends Kabanda, Kabanda also. You send people there. You look at their levels of education. It's for A6. You can't debate with them. You can't do anything with them. Whenever you're talking to them, they're either bastardizing the debate or coming up with comical issues or coming up with anything stupid. You can't actually pull a point through. These are people that have been sent in Parliament to work with us. So it goes as much as the members of Parliament are doing what they are doing. It also the population should stop sending us people that are not to that level of reasoning. So now I don't want to go out of my issue. I don't want to go out of my issue. My issue was just a minute.
Which party has most of those
the
people?
reason why we left 70% of members of Parliament in the NRM have not spoken.
No, the ones who fight
have not spoken since we entered Parliament. You're 400, only around 100 are participating. The rest are just in Parliament doing nothing. So don't even talk about that. Now I'll tell you this.
Is that, even if they go and sleep, as long as they wake up in time.
No, my last point is, the reason why the opposition requested to leave Parliament was for security issues. They were strangers in Parliament. People we don't know. People the Speaker has not told us about. The day before, there was a mass mobilization of police and the army and the SFC and strategizing on how they are going to come up with this. The president himself had been heard saying he's going to crush people. People are terrorists. People are criminals. People are, you understand? So any opposition member would be ready to guard themselves against the crash. So if you're saying that came in with an overall, when somebody deployed guns kilometers away from Parliament, when somebody deployed the army inside Parliament, then you say that Zake just put on an overall and that is so shocking. I would really wonder.
Amara, I want to thank you for that submission, which I must admit I am also struggling to understand and make head and tail of it. But let's now bring in your other colleague, Katesh. Perhaps then he will help us understand from where we sit. I mean, the horses have already bolted from the stable. The rationalization conversation was debated and you have passed this bill into law. The questions abound. What next? How do we get the comfort that with what you have chosen as a path to take, still there will either be better efficiencies in terms of the coffee value chain or better efficiencies in the delivery of services without some of these government agencies?
300. First of all, I think that we lost the debate because of the politics that consumed this discussion. First of all, rationalization as a policy is something that we as members of Parliament across the aisle, including opposition, generally supported.
Yeah.
And most of the proposals that came were done, and the only contentious issues were on, I think, 3 or 4 agencies, including UCDA. Now, when it came to the discussion, the issue of UCDA got hijacked by propagandists because the debate moved away from, there were majorly 2 concerns, Simon, from the members generally. One was, will the Ministry of Agriculture be as efficient as UCDA in terms of being able to carry out the functions that UCDA has been doing? There were many misgivings about the competencies and the misgivings about the efficiency. That was one of the concerns. The second one was the fear of, you know, what he started with, like the monopoly coming. Now, both of us, the government, NRM, I have a feeling that we, mostly the government, allowed a wrong narrative to take space within the population, because most of the people who are discussing from government were saying, no, we have capacity to take over this entity. We are the one who created it. So it was more reactive, perhaps a little bit of shortage in reassuring and dealing with the two major concerns. Number one, I thought that maybe if people came out clear and said, look, we are taking UCDA, we are going to have regulations to ensure that we have seamless functions, be reassured that nothing is going to change. That would settle down some of the fears about inefficiency. You could even go about along and talk about the structure, how you are going to structure the ministry to offer this service. The thing about monopoly is that it will not happen because the law does not create it. And you talked about Chankwanzi, that we Chankwanzi, the NRM, listen, the NRM members rejected that proposal of Pineti in Chankwanzi, and it has not been created in the law. So the question now is, UCDA is going. Did it go away and the functions are going away, or the functions are going to the ministry and the continuous facilitation that has been happening will continue to happen? And this is where now mostly the opposition drove a wrong narrative to our people and tried to bastardize the debate with lies and propaganda. Things like Museveni is taking our coffee. You know, even up to my constituency, I had people who had bought into this narrative, and we had to explain. I had a show where I had spent almost 2 hours to explain to the people that if you think that President Museveni wanted to take the coffee, he would have taken it anyway, even with UCDA. It is his agency. So this whole propaganda around President is going to kill the coffee, there was even some other propaganda here that 50% will be deducted. It was a wrong narrative driven by opposition, and perhaps we did not deal with the narrative properly to be able to diffuse it from the population. But for me, what I would like to say is that, Simon, you asked what next. Now what next is that the lies that have been told that, you know, coffee prices are going to fall, your coffee is going to go, day one, the agency has gone. So we are going to see, and this is what the president said, those who have been peddling lies, we are going to see now what they will tell the people. Because the farmer in my constituency is growing his coffee. He's going to sell his coffee at the international prices, as it is being demanded. And I do not think anything will change in terms of his income. And that's why we reassured our people. These people who are sending propaganda, you uproot your coffee, it is very wrong. And as leaders, we need to come out and avoid situations where the population gets misled. And Honorable Sewamara here, you know what happened in Parliament on Wednesday was very, very unfortunate. And you should understand, Honorable Richard, that while opposition is planning, do not think that the government is going to sleep. It doesn't know what is happening, what is being planned. So when you complain of deployment, don't think that the government is stupid to say, you know, let's just go to Parliament. When people are planning to cause violence and disrupt proceedings, there will be a counter plan by government. Unfortunately for the opposition, this time, Honorable Zake spoiled your game plan, actually, because he ended your game plan prematurely. He went on Twitter, threatened to cause to fight. He enters. He enters. Instead of the debate, you executing what you had planned to do, he actually picks up a fight with the wrong person, and which was unnecessary, because you know we do free sitting. If Honorable Akor walked into Parliament and found a seat, he sat. There was nothing to show that he was seated there because he was on the floor. For me, I condemn the fight in Parliament. It depicts us in a very bad light. It's unnecessary. But for me, why is it that Zake must be involved in every fight? He never comes to Parliament. He just came in and immediately. And also, this is an indictment on the leader of opposition.
No, but when would Zake come? You see, now he's going to spend the next 6 months sick from the beatings.
No.
The other time he had to spend some. So sometimes we pity him.
Simon, this is also an indictment. This is also an indictment on the opposition leadership, because it means you cannot control your members. You could have been restrained, then you proceed to debate and give the good ideas that you have been talking about. Otherwise,
as we go in for a break,
yes.
Please be reminded that Honorable Zake is one of those that had been pitted to be leader of opposition. So you imagine, for a moment, close your eyes and imagine that Honorable Zake is the leader of opposition.
Of course, you know.
But that's it.
FM is giving an all expenses dream wedding to one lucky winner. It's the Big Wedding Season 8.
Tony, where is Tessa?
I'm here with Tessie.
I am here to tell you that
Yes.
a big congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm so grateful. This is a dream come true. Thank you, Captain Alfred, for giving us this opportunity. Mwah, 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 mwah.
The Capital FM Big Wedding Season 8 is proudly sponsored by Speak Resort Munyonyo, Rowenzioni Wedding and Events, Bailey's, Bell Citrus, Kansani Plascon Paint, Photogenics Limited, Baz Events, Stress Free Events, Rwanda Air, Travel Neza, Brovat Sands Lodge Kalangala, XCY Events.
Powered by
Capital FM. Fresh hits for Uganda.
Welcome back. It's the Capital Gang.
Energy daily. From sunrise to sunset, we never tire. Fueled by passion and an inner fire. Finding freedom in the rules we break. Mountain Dew in hand, we stand on business every day. Mountain Dew, do the dew.
Millions Zinogwe. Dial *278# to find out if this is your lucky day. Play Lotto on your mobile phone today for a guaranteed jackpot now at 200 million. Simply dial *278# or buy a ticket in authorized shops or visit www.nationallottery.go.ug. Dream, play, win. Participants must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The Uganda National Lottery is operated by Etuba Uganda and regulated by the National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board.
Have you seen Mama Sam setting up her second stall?
Already? She came to this market recently and she's already winning us.
She must be having some secrets that we don't know. Let's go ask. Naye Mama Sam, ochikola otya?
I discovered a secret in saving every day on my digital savings account, which I opened with Equity Bank as soon as I started my business. Now you see. You know, Equity Tesala, the digital savings account comes at zero cost and even undaily interest. The time to save is now.
Okay.
You too can grow your savings. Get started today using the Equity mobile app or Equity online. Open either the Classic Savings, Goal Savings, Fixed Deposit or Call Deposit account today. Call 0312-327-000 for support. Equity Bank, your listening, caring partner. Equity Bank Uganda Limited is regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund. Up to 10 million shillings. Terms and conditions apply.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back. It's the Capital Gang, the 9th day of November 2024. We're coming to the end of the program, about 50 minutes to go, but we certainly need to continue the way in as far as the rationalization bill did go. And a long-lost gangster, Namfi, who has been away for quite some time, I think it's now important that you now chime in and share with us what your thoughts are in as far as not just the process of having the conversation put to bed, but what eventually was decided and the impact it has on how we proceed as a country that relies primarily on agriculture as the backbone of our economy.
I've been following the debate, albeit not in the political space, but on social media in the news. And for me, my worry is let's not let what happened to moringa, to vanilla, and those other crops, the people that had lifted people's livelihoods. Let's not let that happen to coffee. And I know NRM sycophants will argue that the president has the spirit of the country at heart. But the truth is that along the way, the country lost faith in the president. Very rarely, and I can't even think of a time off the top of my head, has he done anything in the interest of the country. Everything has been in self-interest, either clinging onto power or enriching himself and his family. So with that background in mind, you will find that the general population is not going to be trusting when he wants to make a change, and he wants to make it badly, that he gives so many speeches and comes out and speaks. And this is a man who doesn't even have a coffee background, because if he was speaking about cows, then people would listen. People would think he understands what he's talking about, and would maybe it's not as much self-interest as coffee, where he doesn't even have a grasp of what he's talking about. But you can see, judging from the previous actions that he has taken in this field, one, the deal we struck with Pinetti. Number two, Inspire Africa, and the monies that have been going out to Audrey Kurabogo, people who don't even have a coffee background. With that in mind, you will find that the populace is not about to trust him with something that is doing so well, because why change a winning formula? And I don't know, Katesh and Honorable Minister here, you haven't put your argument across very well to the public. And this is your role. Your role is not to bully us into taking on whatever you propose. For us, the public, we see a sector that is doing so well. There are memes and jokes about coffee this year, and the coffee sells, and Masaka people buying aeroplanes in front of their shoddy hats. So that is how good coffee is doing, that it's a meme and it's trending. And yet you come and tell us we need to change, and change urgently, very, very urgently, that the president has to come out of his semi-retirement, because at this point at 82, whether he likes it or not, his legs cannot move fast enough for anything that isn't semi-retirement, to come and bang tables for something to be passed. Because I even fail to understand, I can understand the opposition's suspicion and pushback against this move. Because they are asking, explain to us more why we are not changing. For example, there are sectors that are struggling. The cotton sector, the tea sector is struggling. Last year, the tea growers came out and appealed to government, help us. And yet we don't see any tea bills coming out. We don't see monies being allocated to it, because you know what? They're not doing as well as coffee. And you get a sector that is doing well, an organization that has put their own thing together. You don't even consult the stakeholders who have been fighting. I mean, look at the Katikiro, who goes from district to district, region to region, asking people to grow coffee. And yet a man, the president of Uganda, who has never been seen doing anything on coffee, thinks he can now come and make a speech and look down on him and despise him and despise his efforts. What arrogance is that? You think you're going to run a country by arrogance? You think you're going to run a country by bullying people? All this fluff of Zake, that is background noise. The truth is that you don't run a country by bullying people into doing what you want, especially when it's driven by greed. And we've seen the signs. We've seen the symptoms. When people push back, Katesh, you just said your own constituents asked you what is going on.
Yeah, but
explain to us. Did you convincingly explain to them? Or did you, at the end of the day, adopt your boss's attitude of, I will bully you people into going with what I have said?
Nafi, if I could just give you information.
Your self-interest has to stop at some point, and you think of the country you run. Because let me tell you, Katesh, if the coffee sector suffers and fails because of Inspire Africa and Pineti, you, Katesh, will also suffer. At some point, in one way or the other, you will suffer.
You see, the issue is the fear of the unknown, which I agree that it needed to be explained.
The unknown, especially in the face of the distrust we have with the government.
Yeah, but for me, I think the issue is we can demand. There are things we should demand government to do. For example, we should demand government to do reforms in the ministries to make sure that there is enhanced efficiency, because people have demonstrated
Did you
that
do
they
this
have
as
that
a
they
person
have
in NRM?
listen, that they have maybe fears, and we even met the president. When we met him as a committee, we told him about the fears about inefficiency in the ministry. So we should all demand that the ministry should be restructured to offer services efficiently. But what I condemn is the whole bastardization of debate to mislead the common man, to say that your coffee is going. You should start uprooting.
Because
those are lies that we should
went.
not. No. We should not mislead our people as leaders who are responsible. We should tell our people the truth. We can regulate. We demanded that the minister tables regulations within 6 months, quickly, and that is why we can actually hold the ministry responsible. If they table regulations and our committees feel that they are not sufficient to be able to take care of the procedures and processes, then we can come in. The ministries submit ministerial policy statements to Parliament every year. Parliament should be able to scrutinize them. But the debate in Parliament was as if Parliament is going away today and it will never have an oversight over these ministries. We also have to do our work. We cannot allow a situation where if the coffee goes to the ministry and inefficiency comes up, we will be able to come up and say, no, you need correct here and here.
You see, at the end of the day, Katesh, all that sounds rational when you're explaining to people who trust you. You have to ask yourself, where did the distrust come from? And why don't people trust? And work on that, work on what you said. You see, you've now started with what you should end with. Start with what you said. Clean up the ministries. Let people upload the Ministry of Agriculture and how good it is. Then get our coffee and hand it back to the Ministry of Agriculture. Don't do things backwards and then start rationalizing them. So at the end of the day, Ugandans are not going to trust you when you do things like that, and especially when you fail to explain to them and then you say, you will do it as I have told you because I am the president. It doesn't work like that. So you will continue having this distrust from the population as long as they cannot understand and you fail to make them understand about Parliament and its conduct. Unfortunately, when you get, like I've said, it's a leadership vacuum that we have. When you get your worst and give them a mandate to lead you, then at the end of the day, you're going to end up with sins like we saw this week in Parliament, because you got your worst. And NRM shouldn't boast that they are better than the opposition because we haven't seen them fight. The fact that they allow again and again bills and all these to pass, which shouldn't be passing, it's an indictment enough on them as NRM as leaders. So they cannot boast that they are better than Zake. So for me, it's that kind of thing where we have a lot of problems which we need to have cleaned up before we even go down to a debate that is critical to our economy, to our country like this. Because coffee is a lot of people's livelihood. And unfortunately, the people who have never seen coffee like him.
I'm a coffee grower.
You're a coffee grower.
Yes.
So
when did you start?
I am.
When did you
Where?
start?
How many acres?
Well, my grandfather.
Because when you look at the whole NRM group running around,
coffee.
even Moses Biaruhanga, he's always there shouting about Pineti and coffee, and you ask him, have you even grown a coffee bean?
Oh, no. But
well, Moses is listening in, and I believe that the challenge has been received, so he will respond to you in economics.
I've asked him this. like the whole lot of you, from the president to his NRM stooges, none of them is a coffee grower. No. And yet they think they can stand there. Let me give you an example. If, say, the Katikiro of Buganda was going around saying UCDA has a problem, he would be listened to because he has earned the legitimacy to do it. Yeah.
From Moses Biaruhanga, he says, Namfi, The Katikiro Omengo received 10 million coffee seedlings from Museveni-led government.
No one is.
That should
yes.
show you that President Museveni has been promoting coffee.
Yes.
When he is explaining the 4-acre model, one of the products he talks about is growing coffee. So the man is listening and is responding to you in real time.
But
No,
maybe
no one is
supplement.
arguing that the president himself, that the government has had a role in the coffee success story.
No one disputes
We are
that.
saying
disputes
the president's understanding of coffee is not good enough for him to bully us. It is good enough
Simon,
for
can
him
we make some
to
responses
wait.
Certainly.
His understanding is good enough for him to entertain a debate.
But
For
not to-
him to
not
offer
to muzzle.
leadership, but not to muzzle it, not to force us, not to bully us into making decisions because he hadn't earned that. If he was talking about cows, we would sit there and listen to him because he's come and thrown cows at us for over 40 years.
Noted.
So we know cows, he knows what he's talking
1 minute
about.
only.
Coffee, he doesn't.
Sewamara, the 1 minute and strictly 1 minute. Then we
in
can
strictly 1
conclude the
minute.
conversation.
Now, I agree with the fact that people have started planting coffee 5 years, 10 years ago. My grandfather, Silas Gamyuka, in 1952, 1954, was the greatest coffee grower in his sub-county with 350 acres of coffee. In 1954, 1952. He then brought in a house with iron sheets and he drove. So today, when you're talking about coffee to the people that you're calling, but the regional issue in Buganda here, coffee is the cow.
Yes.
The history of the cow is the history of coffee here.
Yes.
That's why
it's
people
like finding
are
Baganda
attached
talking
to
about
it.
cows and making rules for
Yeah,
cows.
that is why people are attached to it. That is not be an issue of regional or Baganda or nothing. It's just a simple attachment.
Great, that's noted.
And that is why the speaker said, make sure the Baganda don't get the numbers, because he knows, they know. Don't be fooled. Let's not call out the elephant in the room.
Namfi, thank you very much. Honorable Mugara, as we conclude.
Yes, Namfi has consistently said that there was no reason for bullying. Why were people pushed to pass this bill? I didn't see any.
You didn't?
Yes, the repeal or the amendment of the repeal of UCDA happened in Parliament. Members voted willingly. Those that didn't walked out. There was a debate for almost an hour. There were some clauses that were amended and it passed. So I don't know why you keep saying that people were forced. Those that are in the public that feel probably disgruntled, well, the debate can continue. But the people who had the mandate to move this amendment did it willingly, and I was there and I saw. And by the way, the opposition participated in the amendment of this bill because the opposition is not NOP. DP was there, UPC was there, and the other parties. So I don't understand.
Those are no longer opposition parties. You've told us you've bought them. You've had parties celebrating you buying them off. So you cannot quote them as
now it is you. It is you.
At one time they said we married them.
You say you've married them.
Can you protect me from Nafi so that I can respond?
You're protected, Honorable.
Yes. Thank you. Now, you see, there's also been debate about the coffee factory in Ntungamo. The president wants to take Now, this is what I've read, by the way, when I've listened to His Excellency the President over a period of time. And he has made this case a couple of times. He says, for instance, last year, we made 1.14 billion in coffee exports in terms of revenue as Uganda, as a country. And we are selling coffee now at around $3.50 per kilogram. Now, with some value added, would probably be selling a kilo at $40. Trust me, that would make around $19 billion annually if we added some value. And this is the president's argument. He's saying, listen. He's saying, I will support any individual who can help me resolve this issue. I will support any. Trust me. That is nothing. Sawamala. Yes, he'll also give you, because the 75 billion is nothing compared to the $19 billion that we are losing. And this is the president's vision. I think we should support it. We should encourage very many other young people.
It's very good.
And
then the stakeholders should be convinced of it in a healthy debate.
And in conclusion, Namfi, you see, the president may not grow coffee. He's a superintendent of this country. When he's discussing oil, he's not a miner. He's not a scientist in oil. But he's the president of this country. Let me tell you, if you look at how much money government is investing in several projects just to grow the well-being of our people. If you look at Emyoga, if you look at PDM,
So why do you think the public?
all this is doing.
not-
Yes,
No,
he's doing
let
all
me
this
ask you
to
this.
enhance the incomes
Why
of
do
the
you think-
local.
Why is the public not convinced of his
Honorable Mugara,
It is.
genuine interest?
It is.
the Honorable
The public.
Samamara-
NAF is not
Genuine
convinced, but the
May-
public.
may
Why
I-
is the public not convinced of his intentions?
The best way we can conclude this is to have the microphones off. It's been a pleasure having you listening into the Capital Gang here on 91.3 Capital FM. Let's have a great weekend. We call it a wrap. My name is Simon Kasiate. God bless you, and stay tuned to Capital FM for your best music selection and other quality programming.